you feel about the performance in Brazil?
There was a lot of really good things. Thought our guys played really hard, physical. Did some of the things we wanted to do to try to win the game. Thought we handled the line of scrimmage really well, particularly in the traditional running game. I would say the running backs and the sweeps and stuff like that. I thought we matched up on a lot of their quick passing game well, and then there's always a few plays that change the game. I think in that particular game, a couple third downs and a couple explosive passes that we'd like to coach better, play better. But all in all, man, proud of our guys and happy to get the win.
When Patrick Mahomes sort of gets it going in the second half like that, like he has that third down where he's basically falling to the ground, the fourth down where he's basically out of bounds, it doesn't 50 yards downfield. I mean, when you're watching the tape back, do you look at those plays and say, like, we should be able to eradicate these? Or sometimes you have to tip your cap to a guy when he's able to make plays like that and sort of.
I think there's a little bit of both. You certainly have high respect for the greatness of Patrick and how he plays. But at the same time, you want to execute at the highest level in some of the critical downs. And I really felt like in the first half, our execution was at a really, really high level, maybe our best half of football we've played, honestly, in the last couple of years. And there was just a few little things, like small details against a guy like that can change a play. And so I certainly respect him and the plays that he made. But at the same time, I'm never going to let that be an out to why the play it went the way it went. So, there's a pressure we could have timed up a little bit better on one of the third downs, and then he made a great acrobatic play to keep the play alive. The other one, the rush lanes were a little bit off, and then obviously just staying in the deep part of the field. Those plays, they turn into that's Patrick Mahomes making a great play, but I also feel like there's ways to, play those situations a little bit better.
What did you kind of make of Dante Jackson's game? He was around the football, whether it was getting his hands on it or tackling and stuff like that. Just what did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought he played well. First game for us in our system. There's probably a couple plays he'd like to have back as well, but he's around the ball. He's sticky in coverage. His athleticism showed up. He tackled really well on one of the quick throws to the flat, which was great to see. So I think he'll keep improving and keep, just like all of us, keep tightening up the details to our game. But definitely pleased overall with this first performance.
Just you sort of mentioned the rush lanes, but just with Mahomes, last year over the two games he only had 34 scramble yards.
Mm-hmm.
He got out a little bit in this game. Was there something about how you guys were rushing, or some of the rush discipline there?
No, I think a couple of them. Really, the first drive of the second half, I felt like he got going on a couple times where it's like normal down, hard run action or boots, which there's going to be times where that's harder, and then the one probably that call he liked to have back or a rush liked to have back was the third down in the first drive of the second half where we let him out playing man coverage. We had spied him a couple times and probably should have just done that again. But thought we had a good four-man rush design and just didn't quite the same thing, just the details of executing it tight and taking away those lanes. But I thought all in all, on the downs where you feel like he can run, the third downs and stuff like that, other than that one. But there was a play action where we just, got a little greedy and let him go all the way around. So some of those, it's like the discipline and the play actions and the normal downs where you're playing the run to just stay home and let him come to you, make him stay in the pocket. And then the third down's just design of handling his ability to scramble, which, he told I thought his best drive, that first drive of the second half, we got the best version of him. He was going to try to do everything he could to get the momentum going for them. Made some great plays, but all in all, there's certainly a few of those I'd like to have back.
You mentioned spying, and Dayon was kind of in that position a bunch. He had the sack on a play where he was spying. What did you like out of what he was able to do? Especially thinking back to Week 14 last year when he had that shot to sack him at the end of the game, be able to come up with a sack in space on Patrick.
The cool thing was, two guys that sort of had the Mahomes open field effect hurt him last year were Dayon and Troy. in both games last year, and both those guys had some really nice open field plays on them. So it's just like anytime you play a guy like that, and there's quarterbacks like that throughout the league, it's like when they get in the open field, you just have to treat them like a running back. And that doesn't mean you're going to be crazy and all that, but it's like as far as if the running back's in the open field, where your eyes are on his hips, taking great angles. Deion certainly did that on that play in the red zone. It was a huge play after a long drive. And that was really, that type of drive is how we want to, they converted 2 4th and short, so we like to have a couple of those, just play those a little bit better, but make them drive it, make them earn it, and then play great in the red zone. I think that's a good formula, and not give up the explosives that we did on a couple other drives that led to big plays. So I thought that particular element of Deion's game was huge. Troy Dye, same thing, and we'll have to keep doing that.
What did you see from Geno in week 1, and then especially with Howard, the report I had?
Yeah, Geno's a great player. He's always been, I think, like kind of underrated in the NFL. His ability to throw the football, stand in the pocket, he can make every throw. Great, really, really accurate passer. And they decided to really take away the run, just sort of how New England was playing them. And I thought Chip Kelly made some great in-game adjustments to get Geno going. He really took over in the second half of the game, I thought, throwing the football. And then he's got Brock's an elite weapon. We've seen it now a few times. And your hands full when he's out there. He's a receiver. He's a tight end. He's an electric athlete. Yards after the catch and run. He can do all that. And so can some of their other receivers. But Geno's a guy that can, if you give guys space, he can find the windows and get the ball in there. He's underrated as a scrambler, runner. So we have our hands full with Geno.
Just said they ran a lot of 12 in week 1 with the 2 tight ends. But with Bowers, it's kind of like 11 and a half because he can become a slot receiver.
Mm-hmm.
How important this week is sort of your guys' big nickel with Derwin, where you guys can be like in nickel, but also in base if you need to, because Derwin has some of those linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to that. I mean, we played a lot of 11 in that same personnel, 12. So they whenever a team's personnel is flexible, we feel like ours is flexible to match that. And so Derwin gives you the third corner, the third safety, the third linebacker, talked about it before, a physical element. And then our D-line's, stout enough and play the run well. Sometimes in base, you got 5 big guys in there, but in our sub stuff, we got 4 of them, plus the 3 linebackers counting Derwin. So I feel like we can hold up pretty well against some of the versatile personnels that offenses throw.
And just Teair's game with the 3 batted passes in the fourth quarter, just how big was he down the stretch of that game?
Man, he was huge, and major shout out to Teair. Just the growth and his confidence growing here, and just feeling like he's in a great place here, very comfortable. Attacks every day. He's getting better and better in practice every day. So he's playing himself, working himself into being a really, really dominant player, which we sort of hoped he could become. And so he had some major game-changing plays. He was played really well against the run. He was disruptive. He just missed a 3-yard TFL on the first play of the game against the highest-paid guard in football. And so I just loved his game and those type of plays. Some guys have a knack for those type of plays. I think I read something. It was the most batted passes since maybe J.J. Watt in a game however many years ago. You put that out there? That's awesome. So Teair, we joke now, it's like he leads the team in pass breakups. He might lead the league in pass breakups right now, but a major shout out to him. It was a huge, huge part of the game.
I mean, Mahomes was getting the ball out so quickly. I think it's time to throw 2.3 seconds. It was like his 8th lowest in 151 starts. When that's happening, like to see a player like Teair sort of recognize that and be like, all right, I'm not going to be able to get in the backfield potentially, but I can still affect the game. What does it say about a player that's kind of able to like assess what's going on in the game and still find a way to impact it in the front?
Yeah, it's a major shout out to him. Major shout out to Mike Elston. He was kind of talking about that on the sideline of just like, I don't know how much they changed. Obviously, they lost one of their weapons early, but I mean the entire second quarter really a lot of the first half was just like catch the snap, throw, catch the snap, throw. So you try to keep your rushers from getting frustrated, but at the same time find a way to affect the game. And Teair was able to certainly do that, which was huge.
And just what do you think of Tarheeb's game?
I thought he played really well in coverage, very sticky on his guy. He had versatility playing outside, playing inside, covered the slots on third down quite a bit. Love where he's at. I think he's going to keep getting better and better. I think he'll find the ball as he keeps going. But I thought those guys in coverage really covered those guys up pretty well for throughout most of the game.
You were able to play a good amount of man on third downs. 50% of your third downs were man, without obviously giving too much away. I mean, but do you hope that with some of the personnel changes, with some of the growth maybe from Tarheeb and Cam, that you can be maybe a little bit more versatile in terms of how much man you're playing as compared to what you guys were last year?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, and especially like the high leverage. Last year talked about it like 7 or 8 plus. Where you can't afford to play more zone. Some of those 2 to 6s, 2 to 7s, the ball's out quick. You better be tight on people. I thought our guys did a really good job in those situations, just being on people. He still made a couple nice throws and catches and stuff like that, but just the ability to make them make the really tight window throws in those situations, I think, is important. And then once you do that, now there's other things you can do off of it. And so just excited about continuing to be able to do tight coverage, zone, loose, matchup, whatever it may be. I think we have the versatility to do a lot of different things.